Welcome, everybody, to the Broker Life podcast. This channel is dedicated to give you greater insights into the real estate and mortgage industry in Canada by diving deep into the minds of the professionals who live and work it every day. Today's guest is Cassandra Cherneff. She's a realtor with Coldwell Banker Oceanside in Victoria, BC. Welcome, Cassandra.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Super excited to be on here and chit-chatting with you.
No problem. So let's just start with telling me a little bit about yourself and why you got into real estate.
Well, I initially thought I wanted to pursue a career in law. So I started doing my post-secondary law, criminology, psychology courses, and I briefly worked at a law firm. So I really got to see how it was for lawyers and their day-to-day. I realized I didn't want to be stuck at a desk every single day. So real estate really gives you a bunch of jobs in one. So I will obviously do my admin work at my desk, but a lot of the time I'm going out, meeting people and going to look at gorgeous houses, and I just love the job.
Okay. So when did the switch happen from law to real estate?
It happened over time. I feel like I just started kind of like briefly looking into some real estate, started looking at the courses, got interested. So this was probably about 4 years ago that I made the switch and started taking my real estate courses and things like that. And never looked back.
And you've been licensed for 4 years, 3 years?
I've been licensed for 2 years.
Two
Uh,
years. Gotcha.
since I took my course during COVID, there was a lot of delays. So it took me a lot longer to actually get into the practical courses after and things like that. But yeah, so 2 years and it's been great.
And I love having you on here to chat about this because you're basically brand new to the industry.
Yeah.
I've been around a lot longer than you, and I've interviewed other people that have been around longer. But the perspective from different people when they enter the market is so, I think, important for people to understand. So you're really coming up in this industry at a very unique time with obviously COVID and then the inflation, the house prices rising, the interest rates rising. So I'm so curious to get your perspective. Before we kind of get deeper into that, is there any particular reason why you chose Coldwell Banker as your brokerage?
Well, I had first started out with EXP, and I honestly was just getting my feet wet, trying to figure out what the job fully entails. And I realized that I love people, I love being around them. Coldwell Banker is an office that has a million experienced agents and just awesome people to be around. There's a wealth of knowledge there. So I love going into the office and chatting with these people. With EXP, it was more of a cloud brokerage, so I worked from home a lot. It just gets kind of lonely, and you feel like being stuck at home all the time. It's like we just had COVID. I don't want to continue being
Yeah.
alone all the time. So, yeah, it's great to be in the office and be around all these experienced agents. They're just a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I'm so glad you brought that up because really both of our industries, both of our jobs can be very solitary. We're always alone. We're showing people homes or we're helping people with mortgages, but really like it's a one man woman show, right? You're just on your own all the time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's good to know. And, obviously being in an office, especially when you're new, you can really just sort of like, pick the brains of the pros. It's a copycat league, right? So that's good. What areas of Vancouver Island do you serve? You're in Victoria.
Yes, I'm in Victoria, but I service all the way up to around Parksville, Qualicum, and I also do the Gulf Islands. So I just sold a place on Pender. That was really fun. I love heading over there, and yeah, yeah, pretty much. I have a very wide area of places that I will service right now. I'm sure when I get busier, it might be a little bit less, but for now, I'm game on, hungry, ready to go.
So how do you sort of determine that? Is that based on like really just as simple as proximity? Like you'll only drive so far up the island before it's like, okay, I'm not going to drive to Fino and then, 6 times a week or something.
It really depends on the client too. If I know that they are serious clients and they're going to be purchasing, I will 100% make those drives. But if they're just wanting to look at showings here and there, I will definitely refer that because that would be a lot of driving. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big trip. Okay. Now, what's your favorite thing I know about real estate? What's your favorite thing in terms of it could be your job, it could be just the industry, your lifestyle. What motivates you each day?
There's so many of my favorite things about real estate. Probably the main thing is, working for yourself. There's no cap to the amount of money you can make, the amount of people you can help. So I love that. And yeah, just like the flexibility of the job. And you never know like what your next deal is going to be. You get to learn so much new stuff all the time. I just love the variety in the job.
Yeah, no doubt. This next question I have for you is my favorite question because it's one I think about all the time. And for people who don't know, I recently relocated to Victoria about 2 years ago. I'm from Edmonton. Edmonton is a much different market than Victoria, and certainly really all of BC. They're just two provinces that are just operating totally different with real estate. So what I'm curious to know from your experience, and really just, you're born and raised here in Victoria, so you have outside of real estate, you just know the island well.
Yeah.
What's the demographic of people that are buying homes, and really owning homes? It could be like, is it do you see first time home buyers? Do you see baby boomers, millennials? Is there even a type of person, or is it just a broad range of people?
I've definitely had a wide range of people, but typically it will be millennials and boomers for sure. I haven't dealt with a lot of first time home buyers, but definitely in the process of helping a few along with understanding the process and getting prepared to save for their down payment and things like that. But yeah, it's been a lot of the older demographic for sure.
So when you say older demographic, call it boomers, so 50-year-olds and plus, are they buying their second home, third home, or are they buying their first home and maybe like relocating from Ontario or Alberta or something?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a range. So it's been a lot of just moving. So it wouldn't be their first home. I've also had relocations from Alberta and out of town buyers. So yeah, I haven't had a first time home buyer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that obviously kind of like begs the question of house prices.
Yeah.
Um, try to study this stuff, and I'm just looking at some charts right now of prices around the province, and prices are down, but it's very expensive to live in BC if you want to own a home.
Yes, definitely.
You've been here your whole life. Your parents have owned real estate. Your grandparents have had real estate. Um, why are prices so expensive in BC? Is it just because it's just like a beautiful place to be and the demand is high, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say because it's a major city, along with like Vancouver, there's always going to be a demand. And since the supply is not keeping up with the demand, that makes it harder to buy and makes the prices a little higher. They say in Victoria, house prices double every 10 years, which can be
Mhm.
very daunting to think about, especially if you're trying to get in the market. But
No kidding.
yeah, I mean, it's just the way it goes, I guess. But yeah, a lot of people use it as an investment in these sort of bubbles. And you can build a lot of equity, and it's great for, planning your retirement. You can just purchase your home. Whereas other places in northern BC, you don't see that rise in equity nearly as fast.
Is there particular areas in BC that you would pinpoint? Obviously, like Victoria, Vancouver, Lower Mainland, probably the top areas.
Yeah, I would say that pretty much covers it. I mean, Parksville and Qualicum, they also are a little bit in demand. A lot of people go there to downsize. So those are pretty much our majors. I mean, Nanaimo a little bit, but not as much in comparison with Victoria.
This might be an obvious question. You probably already answered it, but what's the main advantage of owning real estate in Victoria or BC in general?
That would definitely be the equity for sure. You make so much money by holding onto real estate for sure. So
This is a really interesting question for me because it's actually just like easy question, as you mentioned, easy answer. Um, but if people are going to make, I don't want to say the sacrifice, but like let's say people are going to invest in real estate, and what's the average price right now? I think it's just like 940,000, something like that. Um, is it worth it to invest in real estate um, versus renting? You mentioned like house prices double every 10 years. So it seems like it's kind of like an easy thing. Like, yeah, of course it's worth it. But is it worth it? What's your opinion?
100% worth it. Um, Rents are very similar to like mortgage payments. If you can get that down payment and you can get into your own home that you own, I would 1,000% say do it. Um, I know there's expenses that come with owning a home. Of course, you have your property tax, you have, any repairs you need to do. But at the end of the day, in that 1 year, you're looking at about 7% increase in your home value. So,
So of course it's a great idea, right? Because property values actually increase in the province. Unlike where I'm from, there was like a decade straight of like no price movement. Now it's very affordable in Edmonton, but uh, you're really not investing for
yes,
as an investment. Like you just like live in the home, and
place for you to live. Yeah.
so it's just a different mindset from us Albertans coming over. It's like, wow, you can actually like make money on real estate here. It's a crazy idea.
Yeah, the
Um,
sooner you get into a home, the better for sure. So I feel like everyone's racing to get into houses, and yeah, it can be a struggle for first-time home buyers, but there's a ton of great programs to help with those first-time home buyers, like pre-construction. We just had an announcement of those townhomes that are coming in to the West Shore, two
saw that.
deposits of $5,000, and the first year you're just paying down your down payment. And there's just a ton of great programs that do help first-time home buyers. So
Mm.
a lot of ways to get into the market.
So if somebody's coming in as a first-time home buyer, I know there's not a lot of these folks, but if they were to come in, or maybe a couple years out of school or something, where would you sort of direct them? And then what's the sort of typical price point for somebody trying to just get like their foot in, whether it's investment or like their first condo or something?
I would say the condo market, if you're looking at a studio or a one bedroom, you can find places between 350,000 and 450. But if you're going for a two bedroom, a little bit higher, there's a really strong demand for that. So we've been seeing multiple offers in those types of condos recently. So yeah, I would suggest probably looking at the West Shore. I feel like the prices are a lot better there. They have a lot of great buildings out here as well. In town, there's a lot of older buildings for condos as well. So you may get somewhat similar prices, but for the value, you're getting a lot more in the West Shore.
So you could definitely get in for around 400,000, one bed, one bath, or a studio coming
Yeah.
in. And that's like actually, I mean, that's not too bad. That's pretty reasonable. And if that thing's going to double in 10 years, then you get yourself into a detached home most likely. Well, depending, I guess, how high prices rise. But okay,
Yeah,
that's
100%.
that's good to know. Now, if someone's looking for an investment property, what are typical investment type properties do people buy? Are they detached homes? Are they condos? Are they pre-sales? Like, what are people buying on the investment side?
I've definitely seen it all. So a lot of people will invest in a house with a suite for themselves to live in and to rent out. That's one type of investment. I've seen a lot of people invest in pre-sales, more so when the market was really going up because you could make that really quick equity. Some people were making 100, 150 grand in 1 year and just assigning the contract. Um, but yeah, I mean, any investment is a good one, honestly. So I also see a lot of people buying tear downs or really old homes and flipping them. So there's a ton of different ways to invest.
Can you explain a little bit more detail what the pre-sale process is kind of like for people?
For sure. So there are a ton of like new developments for condos going in all across the city. And they typically have different deposit structures, but basically you will put down one or two deposits within the year, and then you have your move-in date, and then you start paying your like monthly payments for your mortgage. So
When
yeah,
someone says, I want to buy a new condo, and you say, well, there's these pre-sale opportunities here, what they're really getting themselves into is a new construction unit,
yeah.
and it won't be available for whatever, a year or 6 months or however long it takes.
And in that time, you're building equity before you even own it, too. So you're locking in at one price. And then in your moving date, it's probably already, built equity, which is great.
Yeah. So that's a good way to get into the market at a more affordable price because it's not a detached home, it's a condo, so it's just going to be lower.
Yeah.
You also can spread out your savings, I guess, if you don't have to put the full deposit down up front, then you can kind of play it. Now, how does that work? Is it like a 5% deposit or is it a variety? Does it depend on the builder?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the builder. So usually we see between 5 and 15%. Um, 15% more for luxury, I'd say, 15, 20. But for most of your average pre-construction places, it's between 5 and 10%.
And that's spread over like 3 months or 6 months or something?
Usually a year.
A year. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So you can really just work towards putting that down, and then once you do have that down, then you don't have to put anything further down for down payment, right? That would be it.
Yes, that would be it. And then also, when you buy in a new build, you have lower strata fees to start out. You also get warranties on a lot of on all of your appliances, on the structure of the building. So there's a lot of pros that go along with that.
It's nothing like a brand new home.
Yep.
I'm always so jealous of realtors because you actually get to go and see the product, and you actually get to see the up and coming trends and the styles. And I love real estate too, but my job is far more boring than what you get to do. I'm spending my days looking at charts and numbers, and you're looking at actual cool new neighborhoods and
Yeah.
new builds and stuff. So when my wife and I built our home 7 years ago in Edmonton, that we've now sold it, it was like the funnest experience I've ever had
Yeah.
because you can really just customize everything. It's not
Yeah.
just, like paint colors. It's like, how high do you want your ceilings, or, how many rooms do you want? Where do you want the walls to be? So I think when people are thinking about like doing construction in general, I think it probably takes a certain person to be able to do that. And it's nice to know you have that.
And you also have the ability to customize pre-sales a lot of the time. You can choose your color schemes, you can choose your layout. So you can have a bit of fun with your clients with that as well.
Totally. Um, let's talk about challenges. What's the biggest challenge in the real estate market right now, from your vantage point?
I mean, I'd say the biggest challenge is getting people pre-approved who are first-time home buyers, and then also dealing with buyers fatigue if buyers are working in that price range for the two-bedroom condos. Like we're seeing a lot of multiple offers, and it can be a little bit discouraging for especially if you're buying your first home. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to work around that and avoid it, but yeah, you have to work with a good agent and a good mortgage broker and figure out ways to be creative for sure.
So I'm definitely hearing affordability. Obviously, is one of the biggest concerns, right? So I guess we've already kind of touched on the programs to help people get in. I would imagine you're probably seeing a lot of like gifted down payments or borrowed funds, maybe from parents, or are you
Bank of
seeing
mom
any?
and dad. Yep. I see it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. And then there's also a lot of people just waiting a really long time. Some people sit on their down payments and they're also just nervous to make that first move. But I highly encourage it because renting, you're paying someone else's mortgage at the end of the day. So much better to pay your own and invest in yourself.
100% agree. I always say to people, if you're if people are asking what's your best interest rate? Oh, 5% is too high. I don't want to pay 5%. Well, if you're renting, you're paying, 100%. Yeah. So take the 5%. And frankly, with the rate conversation, I mean, we're only about, I think, 1% higher than pre-COVID rates. So, we've just been spoiled, I think. So it's time for people to not worry about the cost and realize that there's so much value in real estate, especially in BC.
Yeah,
Uh,
people definitely hit those roadblocks where they think, oh, I want to wait till rates go down. I want to wait till
yeah,
prices go down. There's always going to be something that tells you not to buy, but you really have to get over it. Like there is a million more reasons why you should and why it would be beneficial to you to do that. So
100%. Um, what is one tip you'd give to Canadians looking to buy or enter the housing market in 2023?
I would definitely say talk to a mortgage broker. Figure out exactly what you need to do to get pre-approved and sort out your finances. That would definitely be number one. Number two would be talking to a realtor for sure. Figuring out your locations, what you can buy, what's out there. So those would be my two main ones for sure.
So get qualified and talk to a professional.
Yes.
Do you ever come across people who are not working with a realtor or broker?
Like just day to day who are just looking at houses.
Well, maybe you have a listing and the buyer doesn't have a realtor, and they're trying to negotiate with you. Does that ever happen?
I mean, that's definitely rare. And if it were to happen, we just refer them to a realtor for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty rare. I feel like everyone has a realtor in Victoria. So,
Yeah. And really, there's no disadvantage to work with a realtor, especially on a purchase, right? It's free.
oh, yeah, definitely. I would never suggest purchasing a home without a realtor because we look at so much stuff that you don't have access to and you don't know what to ask for as well. And yeah, bad idea.
Yeah. Like, because there's contracts, there's locations, there's neighborhood things, like there's all these different things that they're just like, oh, this is a pretty house. Let's go with this one.
Yeah, and yeah, there's so many different things that we look at. Age of the building, does it have poly B piping? Are there going to be issues in the future? So we also do a lot of negotiating that I don't think the average person really comprehends how to deal with real estate transactions in that way. So yes,
Yeah.
definitely use a realtor.
Use a realtor. I like that. So let's talk about prices again. So I looked this up yesterday. The average price of a home is down 11% year over year in BC and down 13% year over year in Vic. This is according to BC REA.
Mhm.
Um, have we hit a bottom? Is this a good time to buy?
I definitely think that this is our bottom because the fact that the interest rates have paused now two times and we're seeing those multiple offers on condos and lots of people have gotten into the market this spring. It has been a really busy in the real estate market. Um, I think there's a little bit of leeway when it comes to single family homes. You can probably still lowball slightly, but things are definitely picking up, and I don't see that continuing for a whole lot longer, especially with a lot of people predicting, rates might be going down in the next year or so.
So the condo market is hot,
Yeah.
and it's hot because the price point is lower and rates are starting to go lower. So what's going to happen to the detached home space? Is that something where, because if we've hit a bottom and prices are going to start accelerating, presumably over the next year again, how does that segment sort of pick up? You know what I mean? Like, is it just more people coming from out of town, or is it sort of that generational wealth passing down? Like, how does that work? Your
I
experience?
think people always will have reasons to move. So there's always going to be, that bracket of people who are going to be selling the single family homes. There's going to be downsizers as well, for sure. And yeah, a lot of people from Vancouver or all over the country really have been moving here. So there is always going to be demand for those single family homes. But yeah, I think things will pick up in the next year or so for sure, price
I
wise.
agree. I agree totally as well. Which kind of the next stat I have for you is also by BCREA. The rate forecasts, which are way off, by the way, they're way higher than what's actually available. But instead of giving you actual interest rates, they're projecting that rates will be 0.75% lower by the end of next year. So by the end of 2024, they'll be almost a full percent lower today. So if the best rate today is like, let's say 4.5%, will be around 3.75 or something, which is now right around that pre-COVID sort of type rate. So
That would be amazing. Yeah.
I think it was humming along just fine, and prices were accelerating, and then COVID hit, and then everything stopped, and then everything exploded again. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
no,
It was, from what I know, it was like steady going up slightly, but it wasn't like a crazy hot market
yeah, because I think house prices pre-COVID, I think the average price in Vic, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like 700-ish.
pre-COVID.
Yeah,
I think it was a little bit higher.
was it a little bit higher? Okay,
Yeah, because it's 1.2 right now, the average
is it?
home.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe it was a little bit higher. It just seemed like when we moved here, it was a lot more affordable than it is now.
Hmm.
But it is nice to see that pullback. It's probably not great for existing homeowners, but for people trying to get into the market, it's nice to see that. And really kind of across the province too. I mean, Chilliwack's down 18%, Fraser Valley's down 19%, Kamloops 13%. And then the island as a whole 12 and Vic 12, BC as a whole 12. So yeah, that's good to see. So with the rates being lower, possibly next year, do you think that's going to cause a massive rush of home buyers coming into the market, or how will that impact the market?
I honestly hope they don't drop it super quick. I think a slow drop would be nice for buyers, but all it does is raise the prices of homes. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like it will bring in new buyers for sure, but we've already been seeing so many buyers coming into the market just on the pause too of the rate increases. So, yeah.
This is like the Canadian housing like crisis, isn't it? It's, if you lower rates too quickly, everybody's going to start buying homes. That's going to push up home prices. So
Yeah.
then you increase rates, it slows down the housing market, um, and then people lose value in their homes. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a government thing that can be fixed, or if this is immigration problem, or what it is. But
I think the government can do a lot more to help first time home buyers. I don't think the stress test is a good idea at all. I think that
yeah,
it really deters the first time home buyers, and I've had clients try to get in and then they can't afford the stress test. So they're stuck with renting, and rents might be even higher than what their mortgage payment would be. So also, the first time home buyer's tax exemption only goes up to 525,000. So that really puts you at the lower range for condos. It doesn't give you a whole lot of options. So I think the government definitely needs to step up and help first time home buyers a lot more than what they're doing. Because lowering the rates, that helps people who are the millennials and boomers just invest more in real estate. They've got the money to pull out and buy more homes. Doesn't really do an insane a lot, an insane amount for the first time home buyers. So
yeah. I think I agree with some of that with you, and I think I disagree with a little bit. So I agree that if rates are constantly low, it'll encourage more opportunity, right? It'll encourage more people. And then there's the whole supply side, which is if you just don't have enough homes for sale, then the demand's just always going to be higher,
yeah,
or the price is always going to be higher. So, um, can government fix supply? I mean, I know there's a lot of debate and stuff. I don't know how much you get into politics, but I know I watch a lot of what the liberals and conservatives are trying to do and arm wrestling to see what's the best policy and things like that. And it seems like the liberals are focused on immigration, and they're immigrating so many people right now. I can't remember the numbers, but it's like outrageously high, much higher than our standard policy.
yeah,
And then it sounds like the conservatives are trying to say, let's chill on the immigration, because that's just going to flood more people into the market with less homes,
yeah,
and drive the prices even higher. So they're focusing more on the actual building of homes,
yeah.
reducing the I don't know if it's bylaws or permits or just the process to build a home. How much do you know about like how long it takes to get like permits and stuff to build homes?
It totally depends on the municipality. So some move a lot faster than others. I know Saanich, it's a slow process. Langford was really quick until we got a new mayor. So now it's taking about a year. Colwood says 6 months to a year, but pushing a year for sure. So yeah, it can take quite a while.
That's nuts. So that's a permit to build like a complex, like an apartment building, or that's just like a single family home, or
That would be like multifamily living for sure. Not huge projects, but even townhouses. So
that's so slow. Like
yeah,
think of all the things that could happen in a year with rates changing, prices changing, immigration, unemployment. Like there's so many things that can change in 1 year. And that's like, oh, we finally got this permit, but now unemployment is, up 3% or whatever. And
yeah.
now we can't even forego. So yeah, I agree. I definitely think the government could do a lot more.
I did hear some talk about them possibly making some zoning in some municipalities where you don't have to wait for approval for the projects if you're going to build. So I know there's some talk about that, but I'm not sure, how quick they'll be to implement that. But
Yeah, that's the other problem, right? So there's some of these good ideas come to play, and then it just takes so long to actually get them out. And then again, the market changes and shifts, and we're just not
yeah,
improving. Yeah, it seems like we just need a bit of an overhaul in Canada. There's no reason why it should be this expensive to live up here, especially when you look at the states. You can go to Texas and buy like a huge home for like 200,000. It's crazy.
yeah, I know. I love looking at the Texas real estate, but it really makes you think like, wow, like we live in a very expensive market for sure.
No doubt. So on that, where do you see the mortgage real estate economy in the next, whatever, 1, 5, 10 years?
I mean, I feel like things are always going to be slowly moving up. I mean, prices are going to be going up. It's just the way it goes. So, yeah, I mean, I hope that it stays steady and I hope we see that there's a lot more being built to help with the demand issues. And yeah.
So you've been in Victoria your whole life, been a realtor for 2 years. There's no reason why you would think prices will stall or there's like a bubble. You've been probably hearing bubble your whole life.
Oh God, yeah, I hear it all the time. When's the bubble gonna burst? And oh yeah, things are gonna go down and crash. Like I hear it all the time, and I'm like, if you look at the stats over the last 2 decades, it's just not happening. So
No.
yeah,
So this is it. This is just the luxury, I'll say, if you want to live in BC or in parts of Ontario as well. These are the most luxurious parts of Canada. If you want to live here, you got to make more money.
for sure, it's definitely a luxury to live here.
Okay, how can a mortgage broker help you succeed? How can we help you?
I feel like you already do help me because you send me emails, keeping me updated on what's going on in the mortgage world. I love to be knowledgeable about that so I can talk to clients about it as well. Yeah, just keeping us up to date with what's going on.
If you get a client comes to you and they're not pre-approved, and they're just like, John Smith from wherever, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for real estate. Obviously, you're going to try and refer them to a broker. How
Yes,
much how much more valuable is that client once you know they're pre-approved?
it helps tremendously for sure. It narrows in exactly what we're looking for. I feel like mortgage brokers can be there for realtors and their clients by, being fast to respond and being involved when we give them a referral. So that's definitely what I look for.
Perfect. Okay, great. So now I want to shift the conversation to the speed round. So this is kind of just sort of a fun way to end the call. We can call it this or that. I just want to ask you a bunch of different questions, real estate and non-real estate related, so people get a little better understanding of who you are as a person. Ready?
Sure.
First question, and you don't have to explain yourself, but if you do, that's great as well. First question is house or condo?
House.
Okay, just cuz?
Well, yeah, I love acreage. I love the rural properties. So I would choose house over condo any day. I love the peace and quiet. So
Space. So you want the space. Okay. Lift weights or run?
lift weights, definitely. Hate
Oh,
running.
a gym junkie. Okay. Sugar or salt?
Salt. I love chips. Miss Vicky's.
Okay. Beer or wine?
wine all day for sure.
Morning or evening?
I would have said evening years ago, but morning for sure. I love getting up early and starting the day, and you just feel on top of the world.
Get that realtor license, and now you're a morning person. Good, good. BMW or Mercedes?
Mercedes, 1,000%. I
Yeah.
have an Audi, but Mercedes is next.
I ask these questions are pretty much the same for all of my guests, and I think there's only been one out of maybe five people that have picked BMW.
Yeah.
I always thought they were like,
Oh,
one and
really?
two, but nobody likes Beamers, I guess. Okay. Where is your favorite vacation spot?
Ooh. I would probably say Hawaii. I love it there. Fresh fruit and gorgeous beaches, so definitely there.
Yeah. Is Victoria the Hawaii of Canada? No, I think it's the California of Canada, right?
California of Canada, but Hornby Island, a lot of people say that is the Hawaii of Vancouver Island. I go there every year. I love it there.
Mm. So you're just upgrading to a better island. Okay. Do you like sports?
Yes, I did volleyball and basketball and all those types of things through school and a bit after. So, yes.
Who's your favorite sports team?
I don't watch sports. I hate watching
Okay.
sports. Don't ask me questions about that.
You'll play, but you won't watch. Okay. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Right here, definitely. I love
Oh, good
a little bit
answer.
up island though. I do love Lake Cowichan and Mill Bay. A little bit quieter out there, and you get those rural properties.
Now, if that's not a testament to live and move to BC, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be? That's a loaded one.
Um, yeah, this is a tricky one. My brain instantly goes to Marilyn Monroe. I always
Oh,
growing up, we share the same birthday, and yeah,
ah,
she's a boss lady.
wow, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. What music are you listening to these days?
Well, I actually listen to like a lot of rap and hip hop, but I've been veering off into some rock music lately, so been enjoying that.
Any favorite bands or songs?
Mm, I love Pop Smoke. Maybe
Okay.
that out. I don't know.
People will love it. What's your favorite movie?
Oh gosh, I really love the Ocean's 11 series. I think that's really good. I love rom-coms and action for sure.
If you could grow up in any decade, which would it be?
Hmm. That's really tricky because there's pros and cons to a lot of them. So I'm just gonna say I'm happy with where I'm at.
So the 2000s, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think with the era of internet and technology that we're kind of in, I feel like the opportunities just like are tenfold. So
Yeah, it's a good debate because if you grow up in an era where there's technology, life, no question, is just easier, right?
yeah.
But if you grow up in an era without technology, you could make the case that it could be like a simpler life, like
Oh yeah, for
you know what I
sure.
mean? Yeah.
I
So that's
definitely see that.
last one for you. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Um, Teleportation, I think. So I can travel wherever and yeah.
Like a Star Trek. Yeah, that's great. I asked a different realtor what would be his superpower, and he told me the ability to like basically like um drive through traffic with nobody being in the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we do a lot of driving.
And I was like, only a realtor would say that because you're constantly on the move, right?
Definitely.
Um, well, this is amazing. Where can people find you if they want to look up Cassandra for real estate?
Well, I've got my Instagram. It's Cassandra_Cherneff. I have a website coming up, which will be www.cassandracherneff.com. And my email, cassandra.cherneff@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Yes, thanks for having me. It was fun.